Welcome back, guys. So we just finished setting up our server, and now we're going to continue with our login and sign up page. So I'm just going to open up the console so we can see what's going on while we do this. Now we should be able to create a user, and not found, but it created it. Oh, that's old. That's why. I was like, I'm not sure what that was. And now we can try authenticating, and let's see what happens. Alright, we got a bad request, missing credentials. So let's see what we posted to this. Preview, oh, our login saga we need to change here, because remember we need to, our login saga has now two things. It has data and it has redirect. Then we call redirect here after we're done. And then we pass data to our login. Oops. So now when we try logging in, Tim, awesome. Looks like we authenticated, and nope, we didn't. So I thought we authenticated because I saw this and it gave us an access token back, but it looks like we did some kind of problem. Oh, next is undefined. So come back to, it would be the login view. This.props.location. So why don't we just console.log props, and we can see what we're working with. So location might have changed a little bit. Nope, looks like we have location and query.next. Okay, so query is not even there if we don't have anything here now. So one little quick hack fix is to do this. So if query doesn't exist, we then wrap it within our object, and I think that's fine. So now Tim, and we go here. Awesome. So this is not a function. We'll fix you in a second. So that's good. We can now log in. It recognizes that we're logged in. Now what we need to do though is our authenticate component though. This auth thing is we need to change how this is working. So we're doing this.checkAuth, this.checkAuth. We really don't need to do this all that often. We just really need to do it when it's mounted. So we're going to move it here. And then here, we don't really need to check whether they're logged in or not. We will have to do a browser.push. Actually, this is going to be interesting. I guess this.props. Okay, it's getting the props. Never mind. I was gonna say trying to think of how this was gonna work, but I think I understand how it's gonna work. So okay. So location.pathname. Do we have that? No, we don't. Okay. I just want to see if that was up because I want to see what the value of this was. But now we don't have to worry about this. We will always show the component, and we'll redirect if they're not authenticated. Okay. And we don't need, actually I don't even think we need to connect this anymore. Oh no, we do, because we need to pass the user. We're actually going to create a new action for this. So there's a new way to authenticate in Feathersjs, and that's what's going to be happening here. So I don't need this, do I? And this.checkAuth we don't need. This we don't need. This is fine because we might be doing stuff with this. Okay. So the new way to authenticate is, before you're used to seeing this. You just authenticate and then you get users. But now the new way is to use this Feathers authentication client. And what we can do is, after we get the access token, after we log in, we store in the local storage, and we use this passport verify now, and that's how we can get the user too. And oh, I guess they're just getting the user ID from this payload. I'm not sure. I would have expected to also get the user, but we'll see. Okay, so what we'd like to ideally get is the user. So what we're gonna do is, for now, we'll comment this out. Is we're gonna import an app, and we need to get app from the module index. So that's going to be up1, it's going to be modules, and then here what we're going to do is we can console.log local storage.get, and I believe we can come see what's being stored. If you go to application, you can see actually your tokens here. So I come here to local storage, I think it's this Feathers JWT. Feathers JWT. Okay, so we'll get that item, we'll print it out, and then console.log. And the reason why we're getting red lines around local storage is because we just need to add it to this globals, local storage. Oh, this should be true. There we go. Okay, so now you'll notice how local storage is no longer red. So now we can do app.passport.verify JWT, passing in the token. So let's print the token to make sure we're getting a good token, and then we're just going to print out what that looks like. Okay, we get not authenticated, no auth token. So that's /recipes. Okay, that's fine. So now we want to require auth actually on the home page. Actually, we don't want to require, okay, we're going to put acquire auth on the home page for now, but we don't really want to do that. It should be this index. So we don't really want require auth on the home page, but I'm just putting it there for testing purposes real quick. Okay. Okay, so it is promise. Okay, so notice how it's a promise. So I just want to see what the return value is. Because we are getting a promise though, we want to put that in our module up here. Or sorry, not modules, our Saga. So do .then data, and let's print out console.log data. We can take a look at what it's going to give us when we verify the token. And okay. And it looks like we get that. We get the expiration date of the token, we get the sub, and we get the user ID. Okay. So now what we'll do here is we'll actually go back to using this, what I had before. Now we'd like to get the user from the state, and we're going to do a little check here. So we'll say object.values of user.length. If it exists, then we can just show the component. If not, we are loading. Loading, because we're authenticating. So what's the problem here? Oh, we must be, oh, There we go. And this will be this dot props dot user. Trailing space. Alright, cool. We also want to do const. We want to grab this bind, and we want to do the same thing we're doing here in our auth. So paste that here, and copy the import statement. Okay. And now here we're going to do like a request auth. So import request auth from, and we'll go up into modules and then user and then actions. So actions over here, we'll create a request auth, request auth. So we're going to call that action from whenever we want to auth. That looks good, and then it just needs to be like that. So when we mount, what we're going to do is we want to request auth. This dot request auth, and we should pass in here a redirect. Actually, we can actually just, we don't even need to. We can actually just pass in a function. We don't need to wrap it in a, what's it called, an object. So here what we'd like to do is do this dot props dot history. So we're only going to call this function if they are not logged in. In that case, we would like to push them to the login page. So if they're not, if we can't authenticate them, we push them to the login page. So this request auth, we actually need to make a saga for. So alright, cool. We can copy this. This will be check. This will be auth saga. This will be call auth, and then we'll call auth, and then here we'll get the payload, and then the payload is that function that we got, and we'll just call payload. And then if it did work here, what we'll do is we'll call our reducer here, auth good. Logout done, auth good, auth good. So we'll call that function, and we'll get a user from this. So console.log user. So when we authenticate, we'd like to get a user, and that's what we will pass there. All right, this looks good. I'm not sure what this is. Oh, this just needs to be call auth, and then here, oh, and what we're listening for is request auth. Here we request auth. Okay, so now we actually just need to create this auth in the API. So auth. Oops, not here. We can close. We have way too many things up. Let's close some stuff. So okay, API. Export async function auth. And what we're going to do is basically this. So I'm going to copy this and use this as a template. Oh, and before we continue, we should actually configure stuff like this too. So now in our, we'll come back to the API momentarily. Now instead of, am I doing authentication anywhere here? Nope, I'm not. So this will be import auth from Feathers authentication client. So yarn add Feathers authentication client. So we need to add that library. Let that load. And then down here, looks like configure. Looks like I just need to do that off. Okay, I think that should be good. We'll see if we get problems with it. So again, I am going to use async await. So try, and then catch error. If there's an error, we'll console.log error, and then we will return an empty object. Okay, if there's not an error, return a value. Okay, if there's not an error, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the token, which is local storage.get item feathers. Then what we're going to do is we're going to const payload. We'll get the payload from the object. So now what we'll do is do await, and we will call app.authenticate. Or sorry, not app. I don't know why I was doing that. App.passport.verify. And then returned will be that. I guess while what we can do is we don't even need to check. I was gonna say we could check whether the token has expired, but I think verifying the token like that is checking whether it is expired or not. So the next thing we can do is just, we have that, so now we can use the user service. So user service dot get, and then payload dot user ID. Pass that in there, get the user, and then we return the user, and we await. It looks pretty good, and they have an error thing at the bottom. We don't need that. All right, I think the auth function is good. So now we can refresh this and see what happens. Okay, so we have a problem. Request auth is not a function. So request auth is here. Auth is here. Oh, map dispatch to props. We just need to add it right there to our connect. Is it same thing? Okay, same thing. So request auth, which we're getting here, and we don't need these things. I want a console.log this.props. Oh, haha. It's not this dot check auth, it's this.props that check off. Alright, so we loaded and then we were not authenticated. So we redirected. Oh, redirect, hee. So in our sagas here, we don't redirect every time we log in. Or sorry, check off. If object.values of user.length. So if that's a bad value, then we redirect. So now, let's see what happens when we just go to the main page. So it loads for a second, then it loads in the user, then it comes here, and notice, hey look, Tim, we have the user. So we're successfully authenticating now. That's awesome. There's one last thing I'm going to do before we end the video, because it is getting a little long, is just do this next thing here. So we can get the, basically if they're not authenticated, we want to pass that in. Copy that. I guess what we should do is we should just make this into a regular old function here. And then we can put these guys here. Oops. And then instead of that, we put it there. And cool. Again, we're not doing props validation yet. I'll add that at the end. But now if we're on a page, we're not authenticated, we're not logged in, it'll redirect. Cool. So that is it for this video. We're now able to successfully get the user and request the authentication. And that's it. So I'll see you guys in the next video.